Rob, you spoke after the game last week that you needed to park the result pretty quickly. You celebrate any win, but you had to park that one pretty quickly because the focus is all on this weekend.
Yeah, well, two things. Obviously, you've got to move on to your next Premiership game or the next weekend, but also we've got to have in the back of our minds that we're playing Northampton again here in a matter of a few weeks in a Heineken Cup quarter-final. And I'm really wary of, because I've just seen it so many times, that one, sometimes where the result becomes that big, that it's just so hard to not let that little nagging voice at the back of your head say, oh, it was okay last time Northampton came here. They came here last time and it was okay, and so it's going to be okay next time, because actually it doesn't work like that. And actually sometimes big defeats are the easier ones to turn around the small ones, because your motivation really cranks up. You find lots of ways you can improve your performance because you've probably made quite a lot of mistakes, and actually the battle becomes harder almost for the team that have won. I mean, I know it was a slightly different scenario, but it's not that long ago we beat Gloucester here in the Premiership. A couple of weeks later we played them in the Heineken Cup pool stage and lost. And I think those are the things that I'm very wary of. And I'm not saying it's the same, but it is something you've got to talk about and say, look, come on, let's not let that little voice tell us everything's going to be okay. Let's make sure that everything's okay because we make it okay with our hard work and our preparation and our attitude going into the games. Now, some of our preparation for that game, next game for Northampton happens today in training, and it happens in our performance against Harlequins on Saturday. And that's what I want to see. I want to see a group of players, both individually and collectively, saying this season's in our hands because of how we're performing and things we're doing, and how I'm going to perform against Northampton in 2 or 3 weeks' time. I'm showing I'm getting ready for that now, and I'm showing I can perform at a high level right here and right now, and that I'll be ready to perform at a high level next week and the week after and the week after. And those are the kind of things the challenges I want to set the team. You
never want to get high on emotions, whether we win or lose in that, but you said after that first block that the boys needed a break, but the way they've come back, they seem re-energised, more vigour about them, and we're seeing that in 2 very good performances.
Yeah, I think actually it wasn't physically, because obviously what you saw in the Sale game was that physically we had plenty left in the tank, because all of a sudden we scored 3 tries. We scored 3 tries in the second half, and we were the team pushing for the win. So physically we had it left in the tank, but probably a bit emotionally we were just a little flat, probably coming out of the Heineken Cup, which I kind of get. I think it's going to happen. It was a little disappointing, but what was pleasing was the guys probably knew that they were a little disappointed with that performance against Sale, and they weren't really going to let it happen again. And although it took us a while to wear down Northampton, that's kind of it. Should be like that. You know, a tough game of rugby against a good side, it shouldn't just be tries flowing in from the first 2 minutes. You know, everyone's got energy, everyone's got physicality, everyone's got pride. And you know, Northampton were right in the fight. And then we were particularly good just before half time and created some scores that probably changed the whole profile of that game for Northampton, and certainly put it back in our favour, because without doubt in their chasing the game they made mistakes. You probably saw that the fact that the bench couldn't make the impact they were looking for, because all of a sudden they were points down and chasing the game. There was a lot of things where, like I said, the profile of the game changed in our favour, down to our hard work, which is great credit to us, but also in a way that I wouldn't like us to take for granted will happen again.
You talked as well, and the players have since, that you wanted to see a real Exeter Chiefs performance last week, and you saw that, didn't you? There was a real energy about the place.
For me, I'm a bit old school with this, and you know, and I know it's not what everybody wants to see, but I enjoy watching tries being scored, good tries, but I really enjoy watching us get off the line defensively and make real big contact collision tackles and driving teams back defensively. I like seeing our set piece become dominant. Those are the things that I know are the foundations of what make us good, because ultimately you can be a pretty good attacking side, but if you don't want to defend in between those scores, games you never really dominate a game. What actually let us dominate the scoreboard was our defence, because as good as our attack was, our defence was dominant in the game, and our defence actually created some of those scores for us, and our defence just kept Northampton out of the game and well beyond arm's length all the time. And you know, I mean, that was led by a few of our forwards, but then it was really backed up by some of the hard work. I mean, watching the way our backs were kick chasing and plucking high balls out of the air, that just shows a real determination to win metres on the floor and to work hard and win the ball back. And our line speed and defence and our collision quality absolutely top notch. And those are the qualities that win you games. You know, some tries are lovely, and don't get me wrong, they're lovely and you need them, but that defensive grit and that determination to work hard is what's the best foundation you can see.
Similar to last weekend with the Saints, Quins like to attack with ball in hand. There are threats all over the park. How do you go about combating them this weekend? And will they be a different animal again to what you faced in the Cup a few weeks ago?
I think similarly. I think it's a little bit similar challenges, because obviously if you want to keep the game about yourself and not about Harlequins' attack, obviously you have to defend well, you have to be able to work very hard. Defend well, collision quality, but you also have to have discipline, so you can't let them get tapping and going or get easy field position. And obviously your set piece needs to function, because that holds everything together for you. So we know what the challenges are. They tend to be our foundation elements anyway. We'll talk about those in more detail as the week goes on and make sure we're re-establishing those. But as I said, what I'd really like to see is really challenging ourselves to work really hard. We've got a couple of weeks now before a week off. This is we could almost look at this like almost a mini pre-season, where we've got the opportunity to work absolutely flat out and actually prepare ourselves for working right at the peak of our physical capabilities. Because what would be great is then to have that bit of a week off, have a little bit of recovery and come back in refreshed, but also ready to be performing really highly, because we've got 2 weeks before we hit Heineken Cup quarter final, and I'd like us to be able to see things bigger picture. Yes, I'd like us to be able to focus in on Harlequins, but I'd like us to focus in on Harlequins and know we've got to play well for the whole season, for all the things, the rewards it can give us. And that's what we've been quite good at in the last couple of years. We've realised that it's the hard work we do today, it's the hard work we do on Saturday, that will actually give us the best opportunity to do well later in the season. And that's what I want to keep reminding the players of. It's what you do now is really going to matter down the line.
Any squad that is successful is built around a whole squad, and we're seeing the strength of it. And that's taken years to build, isn't it? But somebody like Tom Hendrickson epitomises what work you've had to put in to get him to where he is now. And
I think what Tom's performance shows is the qualities he's got, so the hard work he's prepared to put in, how professional, how diligent he's been, how patient he's been, and how he's not let that stop him. As I say, getting that hard work done and getting that preparation done, that means when an opportunity comes along, you're ready to go. Tom's been he's kind of on the peripheral of the 23 most weeks, and probably has a lot of disappointing selections week in, week out, but he rolls his sleeves up, he gets in there, he works hard in the gym, he works hard in his prep, and as I say, that allows him to play well when the opportunity comes. And the flip side of that is he's a well-respected member of the squad. The guys knew he had a great opportunity, and they put a performance around him that allowed him to shine. And I think those are the real qualities you want in a team. You want your squad players to be prepared to work really hard and take disappointment on the chin and keep driving themselves. And then you want your team, or your other 14 or 13 player, whoever it is who's been there for the week before, to look at that guy, know he's got an opportunity, and decide to lay on a performance around him that gives him a chance to shine. And I thought we saw both of those qualities at the weekend.
Squad news again, looking out there, sticking out even more, isn't it? More players. Jack Yendel's out there now, Jack Inard, people like that.
Yeah,
it's exciting.
Yeah, Jack Yendel's kind of should be in full training next week. Jack Inard's probably about a week or so behind him, which is really good news. Obviously, it's great to see some other guys out and about training. Good to have Devo out there training, back from England. He looks like he could be fit. Good to see Slady back on the bench for England. That he's now up and running and fit. Jack Knowles only probably a week or two away. He's very much in the end stage of his rehab from his ankle op. So things are thickening out. Tom Francis and Alex Cuthbert, they did have relatively serious shoulder operations, but they're starting to be out there running around in again now. And you're starting to talk about weeks for them to be back. So hopefully, like every coach will say, we don't pick up any more serious injuries, and we'll start to thicken out as the business season the business end of the season comes. But still need to remember, we're only halfway through the regular Premiership season. There's a long way to go before you get to call it the business end. But the interesting thing with this season, the way it sets up, is that we've got these 2 weeks, then a week off, but then challenges come thick and fast if you keep winning. We've got a couple of Premiership games and a quarter final. I think there's 2 or 3 more rounds, and then there's a semi-final, and there's a couple of more rounds, and then there's a final, and there's another couple of rounds, and then there's a semi-final. So if you're winning and you're doing well, the season gets exciting very quickly after the next 3 weeks, like real exciting very quickly. And literally, you'll look at your calendar and just see challenge. And so the big thing for us is to take things into our own hands and make sure we're looking forward to those challenges. But as I said, I'll keep reiterating, those opportunities come because of the work we do now. And that's kind of the exciting thing, is to keep challenging the players on what you do now is what will matter later down the line.